Hi, PerspectaWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday, December 3rd. Well, the storm system that impacted parts of the Mid-Atlantic region on Monday is now east of New England, causing some heavy snowfall in places like eastern Massachusetts, the eastern part of New Hampshire, and Maine. And it will continue to move to the north and east over the next several hours towards Nova Scotia. On the backside of the storm, typical fashion here in the Mid-Atlantic region, we'll have some increasing northwest winds, partly sunny skies, and chilly conditions on the backside of the storm system. Again, here is where the activity is right now. The eastern part of New England getting hit hard with some significant snow bands as the storm system itself pulls towards Nova Scotia. Again, on the backside here in the Mid-Atlantic region, we'll have increasing northwest winds for all of the I-95 corridor region between D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. Some snow showers still remain in and around the New York City region right here. They'll wind down over the next hour or two, give way to partly sunny skies, but again, windy and cold. The rest of the nation, relatively quiet, and really the rest of the week in the Mid-Atlantic region looks like a relatively quiet time period, but chilly. We do have an Arctic front that will come through on Friday evening, and that'll usher in some quite chilly air as we begin the upcoming weekend. Well, before we get to last night's model run and talk about some of the near-term factors involved in our weather here in the Mid-Atlantic region, wanted to kind of take a longer view look here and take a look at an atmospheric phenomenon known as stratospheric warming. It's something that happens this time of the year, something we certainly look for because in many cases a stratospheric warming event where the atmosphere warms up aloft over the polar regions leads to some impressive cold air outbreaks down in the middle latitudes. And we in fact have a stratospheric warming event now underway. What we're looking at here is the temperature pattern, the temperature anomalies way up at the top of the atmosphere in the part of the atmosphere known as the stratosphere. And this is over the last 30 days. And when you see this kind of a blow up of orange and reds, this is warmer than normal conditions in the polar regions. The kind of map we're looking at here, 90 degrees. The North Pole is right in this area right here. And on this legend here, you see the temperature anomalies. Anything on the orange or red side is above normal. And we're certainly seeing an intensification of a warming event over the polar regions over the last several days in the month of November. And again, this very well could lead to some cold air outbreaks later in the month of December or even into the month of January. So it's something that we'll be monitoring closely over the next couple of weeks. Well, this is another way to take a look at the stratospheric warming. This is actually a forecast from last night's GFS model run for the stratospheric temperatures in 10 days. This is a 10-day forecast, and we're kind of looking at a top-down view here. North Pole right in this region right here, and the U.S. is right here. And what we're seeing here, according to this forecast, is a very warm anomaly here on the other side of the pole here from the U.S. in about 10 days, and there are signs that this will continue to move closer to the pole and maybe even on this side of the North Pole as it expands beyond this time period. So again, this is something we'll watch out for. Oftentimes when the upper part of the atmosphere warms over the poles, the lower part of the atmosphere compensates by cooling down, and oftentimes that cold air mass in the lower part of the atmosphere over the poles then moves towards the middle latitudes. And many stratospheric warming events in recent history have led to impressive cold air outbreaks for the U.S. And again, it's something we'll watch for. If indeed this continues at this magnitude, could lead to some cold air outbreaks for the U.S. later in December and even going into the month of January. Well, let's take a look at the 850 millibar temperature anomaly pattern going forward. And what we're looking at are 5-day averages. This is from the 6E GEFS, the ensemble run of the GFS model. And again, we're looking at 5-day periods, and we'll just kind of walk through this over the next couple of weeks. Quite interesting. Despite some warm-ups in the eastern part of the U.S., overall it's generally a colder than normal pattern going forward, and we'll kind of see that in terms of these 5-day average forecast map. So this is the initial 5-day period, the current 5-day period that we are in. See colder than normal conditions here. Certainly today will be colder than normal. And again, we have a Arctic frontal passage coming Friday night for the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. Saturday, a very chilly day compared to normal. High temperatures were very likely confined to the 30s up and down the I-95 corridor region. Let's just keep moving forward and watch what happens. This is days 2 to 6, 3 to 7, and then we see this colder than normal air mass appearing on the map here in southern Canada. This is in days 4 to 8, and that just slowly moves to the south and east, and again keeps us colder than normal in the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. Now we're ahead into the next week's time period, days 8 to 12. Let's just keep moving forward from here, and we'll see that basically moves from southern Canada across the Great Lakes into the northeast in terms of the coldest core of that particular air mass. And this is now days 11 to 15, and finally days 12 to 16, going out into the middle part of December. So really what we saw here with the 5-day averages is colder than normal conditions pretty much hanging on throughout this time period, going all the way into the middle part of the month. Again, it does not mean that individual days will not be above normal. They certainly will be, but on an average, a rolling 5-day average, it looks pretty chilly here in the Midwest, the Northeast U.S., the Mid-Atlantic region, going right into the middle part of December. Well, now let's walk through the surface forecast maps from last night's 6E GFS model run. Again, a snowstorm raging this morning, especially for the eastern part of New England, Boston getting snow, eastern part of New Hampshire and eastern part of Maine getting heavy snow at this hour. Very intense storm, 974, pressure gradient here quite tight. That will lead to increasing northwest winds. If you're in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor and it's not windy yet, it will become windy over the next hour or two, and again 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts out of the northwest throughout the day. Chilly but increasing amounts of sunshine. Let's move forward here. Again, a relatively quiet week. There is one weak frontal system that will slide on through later Wednesday night, and then we'll keep moving forward here. Again, not much in the way of precipitation in the mid-Atlantic or the northeast U.S. And here we go by Friday morning. We'll see another strong Canadian air mass here, cold air mass, strong Canadian high pressure at the anchoring this cold air mass. And this frontal system slides on through a strong Arctic front, probably the Friday night time frame, maybe a rain or snow shower or two, and that just moves in. Strong north to northwest winds as we begin the upcoming weekend, and this strong high pressure will be a cold high pressure, dominates the scene as we begin the upcoming weekend. It looks chilly on Sunday as well, perhaps not quite as cold as Saturday, but Arctic air mass coming for the upcoming weekend. So again, generally quiet but chilly weather pattern continues not only to the weekend, but it looks like relatively chilly weather pattern continues for the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. going into the middle part of December. That's it for now. For PerspectaWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.